working with athletes, and it's like, yeah, that's what we want to do. Like, we want to work with pro athletes, right? Like, that's kind of the goal.
And you'll attract other people like getting that too.
Yeah, and exactly, because once you get that caliber of athlete, everybody else kind of just wants to see what's up with you. But then general pop, like just people in pain in general, like that's something that we're going to be able to market towards. Just all the testimonials that we've gotten since the company started in January. It's just wild.
Just even in the local area alone, just like some of the people be able to help is pretty insane. Like,
I mean, I don't know what your dreams are, but it's like, my gosh, you guys get 100, 200, 300 clients who just buy your subscription. Like, you'll get there, and then it's like, how big do you want to get it? You know, that's I'm obviously about quality of life, because like people always like, if you did this, you make so much money. I'm like, I'm not anti making money, but I'm like 2 moves away from this thing being like tenfold bigger than it is, and it's already like I'm real close to having my dream job right now. I mean, it's like I'm on that path, so I don't know. I just don't want to have pressure. I always say all the time, anytime I get stressed out, I'm like, there's no such thing as a Square1 emergency. Like, we're not actually saving lives, you know what I mean? So it's like, look, whether I can see today or tomorrow, it's going to be okay. You know, it's like, I don't know. I just don't want to be stressed about crap. And
dude.
I'd rather just deal.
You've earned it at this point. I
just want to hang out with people.
Yeah.
I like people just goofing around, and it's time to work, we work. And I don't want this big, massive structure. Oh, if you did that, you could hire managers. Like, I'd rather like keep the authenticity. We can make such an impact just with online courses and workshops. Like, why can't we have, like in my mind, like why can't we get to 2 workshops every weekend somewhere on the planet? That's 100 a year. Like, I don't know if we need to get that big, but like, my gosh, even at 10 people, that's crazy numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 1,000 people. At that point, we'll charge half of what it's worth. We're not even charging 1/10 of what it's worth. But if we're charging, like, say we're charging double what we are now, like, that could be like a $5 million company with like 3, 4, 5, 8 of us. Like, how much freaking money do we need?
It's true.
I mean, for me, I don't want to own islands and Lamborghinis. I just want
to help people.
So,
sweet. All right. So,
whatever.
This we'll start off. So, like Zach and I always, when we explain Square1 to somebody, we always say it's a motor. How do you say it? You say it the best.
It's a motor control restoration system that uses muscle testing and gate-specific isometrics to fill motor control deficits.
I like that. I like gate-specific isometrics. I like that.
Yeah,
and so
that says a lot.
Right.
I'm going to steal that probably. I like that.
And so we've been saying that, or Zach has been saying that for.
I love it.
And so, in your words, you know, how would you describe Square1 to someone if they haven't taken it before? So
a prospective student?
It's like a prospective student, yeah. All
right, so if someone comes to me and they're a personal trainer or strength coach, PT or whatever. I mean, I talk in analogies a lot. So I say, look, you took this course, that course, all these different courses, you have all these different modalities that you've learned. So those are all tools. I don't see Square1 as a tool. I see it as the toolbox that holds all your tools. So I just see it as, it's a framework. It's not a modality. Because I hear modality, I hear, I have tight hamstrings. We're going to do X. I got weak abs. We're going to do Y. And my thought is like, it's not that we don't care about the downstream, those effects. I just look at it, we have a framework that all movement professionals can use to basically gauge everything that they're doing. Is it in cahoots? Is it making the nervous system happy? Because if a person's nervous system is rejecting what you're imposing on it, you're only going to get limited results with it. So it doesn't mean other things don't work without Square1, but Square1, to steal the trait, saying we're going to put everything you're doing on steroids. So it really is, we're just going to get permission from the nervous system to impose these different demands and stressors and modalities on their bodies. So I always tell all of our students, like, don't forget what you already learned, because we need triggers within the system. But with Square1, it's a modality that you can basically check everything you're doing the whole time. So instead of, hey, it'd be really cool if we could interview the nervous system, make sure it was okay. Like, yeah, that's what this is. So if you're running, say, RPR or whatever, MAT or NKT, all these different neuro deals, like a lot of them are actually modalities. Like, you have a weak muscle, well, you rub here. So in MAT, if your psoas doesn't work, you rub the origin insertion. RPR world, they go hit the lymphatic area. But it's like, you have a problem, which I don't think what most people in our industry says is a problem is a problem. Those are just downstream expressions. To me, the problem is all of us compensate and we get stuck in compensatory patterns, and Square1, just breaks out of those things. So how would I explain it? Honestly, I think the most concise, best one I would say is, You have your smartphone, you have your iPhone or whatever. There's basically 2 ways to get more performance out of it. You can just keep uploading more and more apps, or you could like reboot and reset the operating system. That's what we're doing. I think we're resetting the operating system so that all the apps you want to run are going to run better. So to me, RPR is an app, NKT is an app, MAT is an app, lifting weights is an app, sprinting. They're all apps. Square one is just making sure that the operating system can handle all the apps you want to upload to your system, kind of thing.
Yeah. So you talked about compensatory actions. That's something that Square one is fundamental with. And both Jared and I have had lots of injuries. And before we had both learned Square one, I mean, I had terrible sciatica before the conference we had last year, and I was trying everything for it. I was paying people a lot of money to try to figure it out, and Square one was really the only thing that
did it help during that weekend, or when did you get? Because you got a little bit of work during the. I mean,
yeah, I got a little bit of work. I ended up PRing in my fly 10 the next week. I was running like a 0.96 and I ran a 0.94 the week after, and it was probably 20 minutes of work, and so it was
right, because like in a workshop you get like 2 minutes here, 3 minutes there. Most people aren't getting full Square one sessions a lot of times in these workshops.
It was probably a few months later that it completely resolved. But so you go through life, you get injuries, you get all these different things that might create compensation. How do you see that affecting somebody's life? Could it affect their posture? Could it affect they lift weights, right? Because everything. We can't see compensation. I've talked about this with coaches that try to say like, hey, it looks like you're compensating when you squat, when you bench, when you're lifting, or whatever it is. Yeah. But we can't really see compensation. So you think about compensation from a different lens.
I think so.
Talk about that. Yeah.
I think common question I get is, how do you know when an athlete's compensating? I'm like, if he's breathing, he's compensating. So to me, compensation starts way early. Like I'm talking like probably in the womb for us. Like any stress that the person experiences, and stress can be thermal or emotional or mental or mechanical, whatever. It's just any input that takes a system out of balance is a stressor. So as soon as your nervous system has to rewire because of these insults, these injuries, these traumas, these stressors in our life, as soon as we start compensating and having to refigure out how to move around these positions, these joint positions, these eye positions, these vestibular positions that the brain perceives as off limits, it basically it undermines performance of the whole organism. So whether you're talking cognition, you're talking memory, you're talking balance, you're talking vertical jump, it doesn't matter. So to me, compensation it's ever present part of our reality for all 100% of human beings on the planet. So I think it affects everything we do, and it probably affects different people in different manners, but we have so many success stories I'm thinking of Rob, the cellist in Long Island. He's a school teacher, and he's I think a softball coach, and he works with a lot of young athletes, like pee-wees to like high school kids, I believe. I think he does a lot of softball kids, and he was in class, and he had this one kid in class. They did some reading comprehension tests with a kid. It was like reading speed and comprehension. And this kid, I don't know what a good score is, but this kid was reading very slowly. I think it was like 85 or 90 words a minute, I believe. I know it was under 100 words a minute, and had no comprehension of anything he was reading. They just tested the whole class. This kid, I guess, had the worst score in the class. So Rob pulled him aside and ran Square one for like 2 minutes. He cleared out 4 layers on him. They immediately retested him, and the kid was reading 125, 130 words a minute, and he understood everything he was reading. So to me, it's like, okay, so how many kids are out there labeled as stupid, or, oh, they're in like special needs class, and really it's just sensory disorganization? Because to me, it's that internal signaling where our senses aren't actually connecting well and syncing up well that is driving our need to compensate. So here, Rob cleared out 4 little tiny reasons this kid had to compensate, and his reading skills like went through the roof. Like that's awesome. So what does it affect? Everything. So
it's interesting to talk about everything. In the courses, at least with my, I know you say it every time. I think it was my 3rd time helping you out, but Zach and I were talking about this. Is when you talk about everything, like one thing you always talk about is activities of daily living all the time, of like brushing your teeth. I know you said like the first thing was Nature Valley, the green granola bars was the first thing used to get people out of pain.
That was one of the very first triggers,
And it's like, it's so, just to me, even after doing this for a year, it's so insane to me that we can get people out of pain or do things with the most random stuff. And so my old question to you was like, how did you come up, like, what was your thought process to be like, let's attack daily living versus attacking, like I don't know, say, you know, like using a system to trigger? Like, why was activities of daily living, like, why is that where you start?
For me, that's how I start. I still start that way because my thought is just us sitting here, if we're having to exert more, we'll call it neurological energy, if you would, more than is like actually than we should have to, like this should be restful for us. But if a person's injured and just sitting or laying down, they're compensating just doing those activities, everything they're doing, it represents more and more threat. So the whole thing is, my thought is, we better neutralize the ability just to sit here, the ability to get up, the ability to lay down, the ability to take a couple steps up and down stairs, because that stuff should be restful. So you have a rest day, like, yeah, I didn't do a workout, but if you're compensating, everything you're doing, it is on some level more of a struggle than it should be. So if we can actually get it where rest is actually restful, like that's huge. To me, it's like putting the fires out right away. So whether it's grandma, you know, recovering from a hip replacement, or to a pro athlete who doesn't even have injuries, but we know that they're at the best is like what, 98, 90%, 99% optimal efficiency. If we can find that 1%, that 2% they're missing, now everything they're doing 24/7 outside of the stress of the game or the training sessions, we want them to be in a rest state the rest of their lives, ideally, so you can recover from the insults that are coming, whether you're choosing to have these insults from a workout or you're just a person working a day job and the boss is screaming at you and you have a fight with your wife and you're just trying to get through normal life. Like, we're trying to get it where the nervous system actually takes all that stuff more in stride so that they can actually just perform better in what they need to do in their lives. So to me, grandma or pro athlete, I'm always looking at like, okay, what as human beings are we always doing? I just want to make sure that the easiest, most blasé things are perceived that way by the nervous system. Because if it's a threat just to go to the kitchen and grab a glass of water, like, holy crap, when are you going to get rest? So I think we're all I think most of us are in more of a fight or flight state than we realize.
I think it's so funny you say that. Remember when I asked you about a couple of triggers and you said just do daily stuff. And, you know, when I went back and started doing it, I would have people, you know, squat. And sometimes I'd get them, sometimes I wouldn't. And then I'd have them just touch a wall and they just blow up. And it's just mind blowing how we can do all these perceived athletic things and it's fine. Yeah. And then we have them like mouth breathe. Like, has there been anyone that you haven't ever got with the mouth?
Right. I don't think I've ever had a person yet. Right.
And every sport at one point they're breathing through their mouth. And it's just insane to me how something that simple just causes the entire system to blow out.
Which is crazy. And I think the thing that people lose on that is, well, I did a mouth breath and I didn't experience anything. So the thing is, like, it's so under the radar, these triggers, a lot of times. I always say it's like death by a billion paper cuts. Like, we don't even recognize this little insult, this little insult, this little insult. It's the accumulated effect that is going to change the trajectory or determine the trajectory of your physical well-being. So yeah, I think we got to just take care of the basic stuff at first.
Do you think that's the reason why? Because Zach and I are still dumbfounded that this thing isn't the biggest thing on the planet. Yeah. You think that could be, like you just said, how, you know, people just don't get it, that they're breathing. Do you think that's the reason why maybe Square1 hasn't caught on yet? Do you think there's another reason why Square1 hasn't? I mean, right now it's growing exponentially since we've taken it. Yeah. But just like, is there a reason you think maybe it's not, you know, we think it should be everywhere, but just in terms of.
I think the whole story of Square1, it's so conceptual. And I think most people are, like, the masses buy stuff that's quick, cheap, and easy. So I can tell you a story like, hey, your hamstrings hurt? Here, rub this balm on them and it'll numb them up and you'll feel good. Like, okay, that's good enough for most people. All they want is like mitigate symptoms right now. We're all kind of dumb and we're all easy prey for like marketers. So our message isn't, oh, just take this pill and everything gets better. It's like, well, no, we got to break things down and look for these joint actions that your brain is subconsciously perceiving as a threat. Like, people are already like tuning out at that point. So I just think we go to a school system, we take the test, A, B, C, D, and you get a good enough score. I passed it. Look, I'm a smart person. Yeah, but what can you freaking do? So like, I think there's just massive impatience in our society and laziness, and people don't even want to exert the energy to even think about this story that affects everybody. So I think that's a hard thing. I think a lot of times people understand that exercise is good. So if I offer you a course on exercise and say, oh, this is how you hold the kettlebell, not this way, this way. Yeah, here you go. Here's my money. I'm like, really? Like, that's there's so many courses out there that are real nothing burgers, but their message is quick, cheap, and easy. And I think I've struggled ever since I developed this to come up with the elevator pitch, and I still do. And we're solving a kind of a seemingly invisible problem, because people think their problem is pain, or they think their problem is a tight hamstring, or they don't jump as high as they used to. Like, yeah, sorta. I look at that. Those are symptoms of a deeper problem. So already the story's getting more complicated than they're going to have the patience for. So really, your brain perceives every input as safe or a threat. And if we can find out all the, like we're saying, ADLs, they're actually throwing your system off. And if we can address that, it's already too long of a story to sell to the masses. So I don't think Square One is ever going to appeal to the bottom 50%, the bottom 80%, maybe not even the bottom 90 or 95% of our industry. It might be something that just remains, this is really for the 1% of our industry, the 5%, the people that really are after excellence. Now, everybody wants excellence, but how many people want to be that master mechanic, or like, no, I just want to go on Jiffy Lube, they'll change my oil. But like, yeah, you're never going to be on on the pit crew of a NASCAR team if that's your attitude, that Jiffy Lube's good enough. And I just think our message is a little bit more, I think almost it's at its core, Square One's simple, but I think the message is a little bit more sophisticated than the masses want to pay attention to. And I'm never going to apologize for that. I'm just never going to say, oh, it's just this, and have some bullcrap version explanation. I'm just not going to do that. So I just think we have to talk about, well, there's different senses we have, and it's really important. And we take these things for granted, So, as Square One people, we take it for granted. We don't get that we're really down a rabbit hole. But what's really cool about this rabbit hole, there's something in it for the masses. So I think it's really the struggle. What is the elevator pitch? How do we have a simple story that everybody understands? I struggle with that all the time. I mean, I've had so many sleepless nights. If I say it this way, will everybody understand it? And I just don't know that we're ever going to get that. So that's why I think I made a decision 10, 15 years ago. Like, I'm just going to try to inundate the market with success stories. That's why when you guys have success stories, yeah, send me that deal. I'll repost it. I always try to share our people's success stories, because that's going to relate to somebody. The masses don't need to know how the sausage is made. And I think I'm always trying to tell people how the sausage is made. And I think a lot of our students do that because they start emulating how I talk about it. Like, crap, I ruined you. Like, you explain this best on like halfway through day one. That's going to be your best explanation. But then you get down to minutia, you start seeing the conceptual story, and then you're going to try to tell that story to your aunt, and they're going to think you're crazy. So I think I think it's grown slowly, because it's. I don't think I'm a sophisticated person per se. I just think the message and what Square One is solving is a little bit more sophisticated than stretch what's tight and strengthen what's weak. Right. That sells. That's easy to understand.
Yeah. And there's the concrete aspect of Square One, right? Like the joint map is consistent in everybody that I've ever tested.
Right.
When the left foot hits the ground, there's a certain number of joint actions that happen. It's the same every time, every single person I've ever tested.
Yeah.
But then there's also this creative aspect of Square One.
Yeah.
Like the triggers and how you pull layers of neural compensatory strategy out of somebody. It's an art. And
it is.
When you watch somebody like Jared work, I mean, this is one of the reasons why I moved to Charleston, because I saw what he was doing, and I was like, oh my gosh, I got to learn how he's doing it. And now I've seen a little bit of it, and I'm like, wow, this, and all the stuff we did at Blinn. But there's also a big belief factor. And my question to you is, how do you get sort of your belief behind Square One? Because I know you're
so belief in what? You're talking about the students? You're talking about the client? I'm
talking about the framework in itself. Like how do you sell your belief in the system by just...
I tell them to go check out my Instagram account. Yeah. Like, okay, look at all the success stories. Like, about half our posts are about success, and the other half is like, a little food for thought, like a sentence here or there to get people to think. Mm-hmm. To me, it's like, the belief comes in, like, how did we convince this many students to help this many people?
Right.
And...
Or they'll say it's placebo. They'll say it's...
Sure. Yeah. So the placebo thing, there's a couple pieces there. I mean, because this comes up regularly lately. To me, the two big arguments right now that I would use to combat the idea of placebo is, most of the clients who find me and who end up finding you guys a lot of times are people that have already gone the traditional route. They've already seen the manual therapy people. They've seen maybe a chiropractor or 3, maybe a PT or 10, and they still have these issues. They still have pain. So to me, what's interesting is when people come to me, they think I'm full of crap before they walk in the door. So most people say, look, I'm only here because like 6 or 7 people in a neighborhood said that you took them out of pain. And this sounds crazy. I mean, they tell me that, especially, it's funny in Illinois versus the East Coast where I now live, people in the East Coast, they'll mock it, but all they care is that it works. So they're very practical, I think, in the East Coast. In the Midwest, it's like, they're not as practical. They're very much like, I need to hear from like 5 or 10 doctors that says it's okay to see you. I'm like, why?
I understand.
Like, you mean the guys who didn't help you already? Right. You need their blessing? Like, it doesn't even make sense to me, who I'm more of I think I'm a critical thinker. I'm like, yeah, but if I went to 10 different people, whatever the title is, and I didn't get help, I'd start questioning that person with that title. But they don't. They still want to see, like, I need all the references from all these medical people. Like, oh, you do or you don't. I mean, here's the deal. You went to the insurance route and you didn't get help. It doesn't mean that they're not helping people. They didn't help you. So whatever you have, it's probably not a tissue thing. It's probably not something that the mainstream personal trainer, strength coach, golf pro, PT, chiro is going to solve, because you already saw those people. Mm-hmm. So to me, as far as the placebo deal, people come in skeptical, and then halfway through the first session, halfway through the second session, they're like, why the heck didn't my chiropractor do this? Why didn't my PT do this? Like, because they didn't know it. So to me, I have this little tagline. It's like, we're turning skeptics into believers. So I'm not getting people like, oh my gosh, I know your stuff works, and they're already sold that my stuff works. Almost every client sees me, they think I'm nuts. So I usually start off every session and say, look, the craziness of what we're about ready to do, it's not even lost on me. It's still new to me. Like, open up like my Christmas presents when I was like 9 years old. Like, it's really fun, and it's crazy. Like, every session is crazy, even though I've seen thousands of sessions. Like, it's pretty nuts when, you check like some range of motion pieces or some strength pieces or, positions or patterns that produce pain, and we, 10, 20, 30 minutes to the first session, and all that stuff is better. Like, that's still crazy to me. Like, I've seen it so many times, I know it works, and to see them go from being skeptical to like, okay, I think you're crazy, but this stuff works. So it's funny, there's so many stories I have of people who thought I got lucky on them the first time. They came in with knee pain, I got them out of pain. They think I got lucky. They hardly ever say that. But what ends up happening is they come in for session 2 like 2 years later, 3 years later. Like, oh my gosh, how you been? Like, oh man, I was so good. After I saw you, I was good for 3 months or 6 months or whatever. And then I had this other injury. And then I still went back to the people that didn't help me before. And they still didn't help me. And now I came a second session. I get them out of pain a second time. Then they start believing. So I think the whole placebo thing is like pretty easy to defeat. Like, literally almost everybody comes to see us, they think we're crazy until we're the crazy guys that get them out of pain. So, and then, I'm trying to keep it under wraps, because I don't want the questions that are going to come when I divulge this next piece. But like, we've been doing it on animals. So we've done it on dogs and horses. I haven't done it on a cat or a hermit crab or anything, but we've done it on dogs and horses. I say we, it's been mostly me, a couple other inner circle kind of guys. You guys run some animals yet? I think we've talked a little bit. Yeah. So I don't want to put that out there super publicly, because I don't want to have to answer all these questions yet, But so we're working on it. And, I know when I was over in Australia with Brendan Smith, we went to his auntie. She's like this big time horse trainer in Australia, like top 1, 2, 3. She's like a known entity in the equestrian world. So we're working on, 10, 15 of her horses, these injuries or whatever. You touch their hip or whatever the area is, and you see their musculature like shudder, like it goes almost in a spasm, like a kind of, like they got a chill kind of deal. And as we clear layers, after whether it's 5 or 30 layers in, all of a sudden you see the horse lets out a sigh, and then everything just chills on the horse. And
that's so funny you said that. I mean, cat's out of the bag now with that, but like with my dog, she was abused before we got her, and when we touched by her butt, she like sometimes shudders. And so, throughout the past couple months, I've been slowly like
using that as a trigger.
And I mean, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
It's and I think the craziest part too is that the joint map is still the same.
It's a joint map. That's
a
dog's front shoulder is our shoulder.
But I mean, it kind of makes sense. And, going back to this belief thing, I know, like, I think there's a sense of belief in the practitioner as well. because when like some.
You mean when you're the one performing
it? I think there's a belief factor, as in when Zach and I go in to work on someone. I mean, kind of like you. Sometimes I'm like, it's not going to work that well. But when I'm doing the session, I'm like, you have no idea what's about to happen in my own head, and I feel, and we talked to some people who are way more advanced in neurology than we are, and there seems to be this almost like, if you believe it works, it's going to work better. Versus if you don't believe it works, there's got to be something to that. There has to be. I mean, for how crazy this rabbit hole goes, I wouldn't be surprised if that's a factor.
Well, here's like a counter thought. What's interesting, every once in a while, I'll get somebody, and in my head, I'm like, why did this person come to see me? There's no way I can help them. I'll have these thoughts, and then it's like, oftentimes, like, it's some of the easiest people ever. It's wild. So even sometimes when my belief is low, it still works. And that's funny, the further I go in my career, here's what I've learned. I've kind of like framed in my head, like, look, I'm not even responsible for the symptoms and the outcomes. I have such belief that in the framework that's going to restore homeostasis or balance to locomotion and our squat pattern. And if I do that, that's all I can do. All I have control over is like making requests of them. Hey, would you do this, do that? But I have such a belief now in the framework does what it's supposed to do. And then the brain is really is the star of the show. And I'm not in control of your brain. I'm not in control of my own brain. So I just look I have confidence in the system. I don't actually have that much confidence in what the effect's going to be. It's funny because like you students, you guys I think have more belief in it than I do, and my wife does. Like she'll send me some people sometimes like, holy crap, at least I don't know if I can help this one, right? And then it works well. So like so even that belief on my end is I feel like I'm skeptical of it, even though I'm the guy who developed it, because it's like, come on, it's crazy. But I do, as I go further and further in my career, I'm like, my job is really just to get balance, back to the system, challenge them, break them out of balance, restore that. I have supreme confidence in my ability to get their sensory system working better. Now, beyond that, I have no control of who's going to have the vertical jump increase or the pain decrease. Yeah. It's just that almost everybody, that's what does happen.
And that's such a great question that I get all the time is like, what does Square1 do? And I think to myself, what does it do? Because like when you organize the nervous system, what are all the things that happen after that?
Yeah, I mean, what does organize
pain,
the
range of motion?
And it's more than at once too. Like it's not like okay, we just get ready. It's like we went to a high school in Charlotte, and we were working on the 1080. We were just doing gait asymmetries, and the first four people, like Zach we were looking at each other like, this is unbelievable. We went 4 for 4 with 4 people. 84% asymmetry down to like a 7%?
Down to like 2 or 3 within one step. And then you had a 50% averaged over 10 steps.
Yeah, but it's 84.
We're hoping for those things, but it's like, it's kind of, I always talk in analogies, and I probably used this with you guys before. I feel like when I run Square1, it's like we're doing like lottery tickets, the scratch off guys. Yeah. Every one of them is going to be at minimum like another free ticket or a $5 winner. Like everybody gets something out of it. But then it's like, okay, then like 50% of people, oh my gosh, that's a $5,000 winner or $1 million winner. So I have no control over what's going to be behind that ticket. It's just it's almost like the master. I don't know, it's just really good at breaking the person out of how they compensate, and then whatever compensation has been robbing from them, it just returns to them like on the spot, usually.
It's that, it's a like we were saying, like it's range of motion seems to be whatever reason like the bread and butter. But from what we've noticed, but it's like it's range of motion, it's pain, it's strength, and it all happens at once. It's not like one day it's range of motion, the next day it's pain. Like it doesn't jump around. It's always just this multitude of things that
it is. And
what's interesting is all of these things that we've noticed are like it's all controlled by the nervous system. Like range of motion, and at least to me, I don't. Unless you have, yes, you can have more retroverted, introverted hips, but at the end of the day, like your body can move however it wants, but the only restriction that's placed on it is by the brain.
Yeah.
Unless you have, Square1 doesn't with like structural issues. Unless you have something structurally severely wrong with you. Yeah. There's no reason why you shouldn't move without any restriction.
Right.
And when I tell people this, like, oh no, you're like, no, there's all these principles. It's like, well, dude, just like open your eyes. Like you're just. it's like with all this mobility stuff, it's like they're trying to what's the saying, hammer a square peg through a circular hole.
Right.
It's like they're just trying to beat in what they're trying to do.
Right.
And just assume that it's going to work because it's been taught for however long.
And I think, and that's back to like, why isn't this the biggest thing? So I think what is being sold to people are novice approaches. So, novice solutions, not expert solutions. So like I've looked into like, okay, look at the difference between novices and experts and how we go about solving problems. Novices, they start at the end, like, oh, look, your range of motion's off, you're weak, whatever. And then they work backwards through guesses. Let's try this exercise. That didn't do it. Let's try exercise 2. Oh, look, a little better range of motion, but you're still weak here. So they have to guess their way backwards. We're not even playing that game. We're looking at is, okay, we know that posture and movement is controlled by the nervous system, and we know that the 3 primary senses, and we talk about some other senses too, but it's balance or the vestibular system, it's vision, and it's proprioception. If we can address the components, like the ingredient list, the recipe is gonna work out pretty darn nicely, right? So if you if you're just like my youngest son, he likes to cook food, right? He's messing around with making recipes or whatever. Like all the stuff tastes better when I shop at Whole Foods than if I shop at a crappy store. So if I give him really good ingredients, it always tastes pretty good because he starts with better base materials. So we're approaching this from restore deficient base components. That's what we're doing. And I'm sorry, but mobility is not a base component, and strength isn't a base component, and athleticism and skill, that's the garnish on the frickin' plate. That's the fancy silverware and the nice napkin. That's all downstream window dressing. That's what you see with your eyes. You're not seeing how your brain is perceiving that joint action. And if it perceives that finger flexion of your index finger as a threat, well, that's going to affect negatively across the whole kinetic chain. It's going to rob you of every characteristic of athleticism on some level.
That's what you just said is my favorite part about Square One is that, even if you think Square One is whatever, you can't debate the foundational principles that's built off of.
Right.
Up and down are opposites, and the kinetic chain is real. And
all the time.
Anyone who works in this field, if you disagree with that, I don't know what you're doing with your life. But when you explain to someone like that, and they still don't oh, you're full of it. It's like, well, how? We believe in the same things. We believe in the exact same things.
Right. If people take the time to look into Square One, it's it really is simple. Like I said, we'll see tomorrow in this class. I'll joke around with the students okay, I don't know if you guys are smart enough. What's the opposite of up? And they'll say down. Yep. What's the opposite of right? And they'll say left. Oh, I'm wrong. You guys are smart enough to learn this. It's because at its base, it's so simple because it's all principle based. The brain perceives every input as either safe or a threat. That's pretty much inarguable at this time. Right. It's the nervous system is wired for survival. The nervous system is always going to make the most cost-effective choice. It's always going to choose efficiency over inefficiency. But what if our neural pathways of efficiency are closed down because of past injury, and you're left taking all the back streets in order to work around these problems? And we come along and say, and we let your brain know, you know what, the main route is open again. It's going to take it every freaking time. So that's what I love about Square One. There's so many things, but I love that if you run the system with proficiency and a certain level of skill, it makes us look smarter than we are, because when they're reading faster and they're jumping higher and their pain's gone and the 5 docs couldn't figure it out, those guys didn't not do their job correctly. What their assumption is if there's not tissue damage, we should have pain. And it's I don't understand that. Chronic pain that's been going on for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. The tissue healed months ago, years ago. You don't have a tissue problem anymore if you still have chronic pain. You have a neurological disorganization issue. Almost assuredly, 99% chance it's neurological disorganization at its core. So, yeah, it's. I love talking about this stuff. I feel like I'm talking so fast.
Obviously we completely agree, but we were talking the other day, especially with patellar tendinopathies, about how, some people are asymptomatic and some people are super symptomatic with it.
The pain damage continuum is not consistent across every single injury.
Vertebral damage. What is it, 80% of us over 40 have degenerative disc disorder?
No pain.
Yeah, half the people who have it have zero symptoms. They don't even know there's something wrong.
Same with tendons, same with labrums, same with every structure in your body. There could be physical damage.
Right.
And you could have no pain. pain.
Right.
There could be no physical damage.
Right.
And you can have pain.
Absolutely.
Or you could have both. And it's like, you can't separate the two now.
Right.
And so it's like, why wouldn't you take the most effective approach first by going through the brain and checking?
And if the brain is in control of every tissue in your body and every process, every function, like it just seems reasonable that we should start there. And I mean, barring someone fell off a building, like, okay, yeah, go to the hospital, go to the ER, make sure, death isn't imminent.
Square1 you back to health.
Yeah, right. So there's reasons that we shouldn't be the front line all the time, but like chronic pain people, like, come on, man, like the tissue's been healed. Like you got hurt 10 months ago, like bone takes what, 5, 6, 7 weeks to heal, muscle probably even a little quicker, more blood flow. Like you've had pain for 3 years now, man. Like the tissue healed, yet you still have pain. Why? Because you're still walking around. Like when someone has a stroke, they'll have, it's called learned non-use. You guys have heard that term at all? So like say it affects one hemisphere, so they have like some level of paralysis on one half of their body, right? So they have actually some different brain people that are into neuroplasticity. What they've actually done is they'll actually like cast the unaffected side to force them to use the affected side. Right? So it's because it's learned non-use. If you don't use it, those pathways just kind of like shrivel up.
Yeah.
I kind of think what we're doing is actually solving like learned non-use. If your eyes get, the brain gets a signal that's unsafe for your eyes to look to the right or up, or your certain joints to move a certain way, it might not be accompanied by pain or breakout in hives or something super overtly obvious. But if your brain thinks certain positions are off limits, it's learned non-use. So I think that's kind of what we're really solving, is like this microcosm of learned non-use. And all of us have like many, like thousands upon thousands of layers of reasons to avoid this, avoid that. And then we still put together the best, most efficient pattern we can in the presence of all these deficiencies. We come along, okay, the most recent learned non-use is wrist flexion. And we haven't spent time there. Boom, all of a sudden it resets the system. And we challenge them and break out another one. Oh, now it's your elbow.
From the last page, right? You
What's
explain that, like reading a book from the last page.
Yeah,
right?
The diary. Yeah, we all wrote, we always say all of us have written a neuromechanical diary on our own body. So when we do Square1, we're going to start with the most recently written page first, clear it up, and then work our way back to like a reverse chronology of their history.
You say, so one thing I've noticed, kind of talk about, if they injure the hand, they don't use it. With concussions, I don't know how many people you worked on with concussions, but I've worked on more than a couple people with concussions, but I've noticed, and I only asked this after a couple times, but the eyes, for whatever reason, whenever they got the concussion, whichever way they were looking, when you do eye tracking as a trigger, the eyes will always skip in the direction that they got the concussion every single time.
That makes sense.
And when you start clearing stuff up and it's gone, you see the eyes just start gliding smoothly.
Exactly.
And it's one of the craziest. I remember the first time I saw that, and I was like, I'm not smart enough for this. There's no way I just did this right now. But but seeing it at that level, and that in itself, like, dude, your eyes are skipping. Your brain just can't process, because I believe our brain is actively guessing the future because we're living in the past because we can't process information quickly enough. Yeah. So your brain is trying to make up things in the first place, but now it can't even process what it's trying to make up.
Right.
Just a small little flutter.
Think how complicated taking a step is. It's super complicated, but we've all done it enough. We take it for granted. Now, if you have a stroke, all of a sudden you won't take that for granted anymore. So all these processes that we think are simple during the day are actually super complicated, and most of us don't even notice it unless you're an athlete, because you'll see it in performance. But if you're a couch potato and you don't have pain, you don't even know how screwed up you are. You know what I mean? Because you're never challenging your body.
I feel like they're even more screwed up because it's, like I said, it's learned non-use. If you're sitting here all day, you're not doing any joint actions. You're just sitting here like this.
Right.
And
I mean, there's no system that's ever been created, at least to my knowledge, that can take the flexion of your little pinky into account when you have knee pain.
Everything matters, man.
Oh, man, that is crazy to think about, right?
It is.
Or you just posted the other day about that story of the University of Texas when you're visiting Matt Van Dyke and the athlete who had bilateral patellar tendinopathy.
Yep.
And he had an issue in his wrist. And it's like,
yeah.
How many times we've seen that, right? Where it's like, oh, your pain's here.
Did you hear the end of that story then, too? like when we.
Oh, when Matt was like, yeah, and he said he had an issue in his.
Oh yeah, after the fact.
Yeah, like so,
after
like
the fact. So
that was in 2020. We worked on a kid, and he's like, no, there's nothing wrong with my wrist. Like, man, I've worked on a lot of people. I've never cleared out 30 in a row in a wrist. Like, I've never seen that. It doesn't mean there's not other people out there. I just hadn't seen it. Like, that's an outlier. We get used to what, even within Square One, like what's kind of normal and classical. Like, this was not. This was really atypical stuff. Like, dude, I can't believe you don't have a wrist injury. Like, like you didn't get hurt? No. The staff said he didn't. And then it was 4 years, so 4 years later, 2024, we're teaching the Houston Texans staff, because Matt Van Dyke was at Texas, and then he was with the Texans. He brought me over there, and I'm telling that story that you just talked about, the tendinopathy. And then I'm like, I didn't have a wrist injury. And Matt's over there smiling and laughing. I'm like, what are you laughing at? He's like, I think it was like 2 months or 3 months after I left, he actually fessed up to the staff that he was hiding a wrist injury from them. So it's like, it's so crazy. Like, so like your nervous system doesn't lie, man. Like, I feel like we're playing poker. And we're
looking at the next
we kind of know all the possible scenarios, and if we get to ask enough questions, like, well, we can use deductive reasoning. That's the issue right there. That's your brain perceives as the issue. Like, I'm not saying it. Your nervous system is saying it. That's what I always say. We're not storytellers with Square One. We draw the story out of your body. It's already written there. We're translators.
It's like the whole thing with, I always tell people the example of, okay, you go to a PT, you knee hurts. What do? They look at your hip and they look at your ankle.
Mm-hmm. Reference points.
It's because it's beating into them, which is fine. But what if there's no issue there? Right. What are you gonna do next? You're gonna, you're just making it up. No, and so like with Square One, I can't tell you how many times we worked on someone. I mean, you work on a spot, it's there, then it jumps.
Yep.
And then every time it jumps and it stays there for a little bit, I'm like, hey, you ever had an issue here? Like, how'd you know that? I'm
it's
like,
crazy.
Man, your body's telling me this. Like, all we're doing is listening. Like you said, we're not telling the story. We're letting the body tell us the story.
Yeah, and we're just translating it. So I mean, you guys have probably had this too. Like what you just kind of enunciated was, I'll work on somebody. They come in, they have knee pain or back pain. It's usually back plus knee, back and shoulder. It's back and something usually. And we're going through all this stuff like you just said, and it skips somewhere. Say it's their foot or their neck or something, and we clear out stuff like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you about this and that. So they told you a whole history, and then as we work on them, their nervous system rats them out like, oh, I forgot to tell you this. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you about that. Like all these old injuries start appearing right before our very eyes. Like maybe not the pain, but the areas of dysfunction just appear. Like, what happened here?
It's so crazy. Like I forgot who I worked on, but it was something with they're having some elbow pain, and I think it was like their finger or something. It was like their left pinky, and I asked them.
Not pain, just dysfunction. Area.
Dysfunction. It was left pinky flexion. It was just this. And I remember asking them, and I was like, "Hey man, anything ever happened?" Because I think it was like 20 layers. And I was like, "Hey man, anything ever happened with your pinky?" And they're like, "No." I'm like, dude, anything at all?" And he's like, "Yeah, when I was in second grade, I broke my pinky," and I was like.
How old is this guy?
Yeah, he's in his 20s.
Yeah, right.
And it's just like it's insane how the nervous system can hold on to trauma for decades.
Yeah,
like it's
the book the Body Keeps the Score.
The Body Keeps the Score.
Like,
yeah.
I started reading through like, oh my gosh, it's like I should reach out to that author. It's like, dude, we got this practical framework that's like it's. Not that people are doubting that work, but it's like, oh my gosh, this is like the real world evidence that what in that book is actually being played out. So as you're saying this, I just thought of a story. I got to share this one. I'm sure I haven't told you this one. I was working one time with a chiropractor, and she was giving me the people that she wasn't getting, really good outcomes with. So I'm working on this one lady. She came in with back pain, she came in with knee pain. So I think I saw like 4 sessions. So the first session, it was fine, no big changes. But after the second session, her knee pain went away. But after the knee pain went away, after the second session, before the third session, her back pain came back. So she goes, okay, my knee is great, but now my back hurts. And it hasn't hurt in 10 years when I was pregnant with whatever, baby number 2 or 3 or whatever. And I'm like, well, you know what that means? She's like, I'm pregnant? That was so funny. No, that's what stood out in my head. I said, no, like we have you now moving like you were 10 years ago. So like, we're not gonna flinch. Like we got rid of the knee pain. We just gotta pull out some more layers. More than likely, you weren't born with the back pain. That wasn't with you for your first 30 years. We're just gonna get over this hump as well. But it was really cool where it was like, literally their own history. Sometimes the old symptoms are appearing that they haven't felt in 5 years, 10 years. And like, that's amazing. Like we literally are making you move like you did 10 years ago. Put a price tag on that. Like how do you do that? How about some old dude right now who's 80 years old right now, and up until like 5 years ago, he's running 5Ks, and now he can't because his knee hurts. Like he would love to move like he did 10 years ago. Like that's, like if you just think about Square One in a nutshell, like wouldn't you want to move like you did 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago? And like, you'd be a liar to say no, right? So it's like, I think that's kind of a cool little way of explaining, like, well, we're gonna get your nervous system better organized so you move like you used to. Like, that's pretty simple. That's not bad.
I mean, you tell that to anyone, they think you're lying.
Oh yeah, they exactly.
What do you mean?
That's why you got to go to the Instagram account and see all that stuff. Yeah.
So that's one thing that always just never sat with me. And you know, Zach and I obviously took this and ran with it. Like you tell everyone, hey, like just do what you do, but for 3 weeks, just dive headfirst into this.
Go all in on this.
Go all in, and it still blows my mind that people, like what people are going to experience tomorrow and Sunday, it's going to blow their minds.
Yep.
And then on Monday, they just don't do anything with it. They just
right. We have 10 students coming this weekend, so we'll probably 3 to 7 of them they're gonna go in, and there'll be 3 to 7 that they're never gonna play with.
And so the thing is, like, even when the course in New York, one of the guys that was there, everyone follows on social media after, and they see him on Monday, and he's got a post about what he's been doing.
Yep.
And it's like, dude,
which is fine,
but it's like, do you not just realize what you saw, and you're gonna go ahead and so my question is, why do you think people? Maybe they're afraid.
Comfort, ease, yeah.
Why do they not jump? Like at least just try it out on their own. Like why do you think there's this? They've paid to taking the course. They're interested. They take it, and then they just be like, all right, I'm just not going to use it. Like
I think it's a couple. I think it's like sometimes they still have confidence to give it a go. I don't know, man. I think sometimes too. It's like everybody thinks. A lot of people that are cynics think they're skeptics. Like, no, you're a cynic. Like you literally, no matter what you show some people, they're just not gonna believe it. They're just not. It's like, well, if you have your heels dug in, like you can't change my mind. Like you're not a skeptic. You're a cynic. You're impossible. You're actually like really closed-minded. An open-minded person might be skeptical. Like, hey, I have a hard time believing this, but can you show me more? Like Zach's a skeptic. You came to the workshop thinking I was full of crap.
Yep.
But you weren't cynical. No. You were open-minded. Like, I'm going to give this a fair chance, though.
Yes.
So as much as you were skeptical, you were open-minded to be, skeptical. But like, all right, I'm going to try this out. I'm going to do what he says and run it. And then when you do, like, oh my gosh, this works better than you told me. Like, I know. Yep. So.
Just brave enough to be wrong, but
I
dumb
think,
enough to give it a try.
Dumb enough to give it a try, right?
Because
Well, like we said, like you and I, we joked, Squidiot. Like, I mean, you take the course, you understand it, but like, really, we're all more morons and idiots. Like, this thing is so insane that, like, dude, like, it just works. Like,
it just works.
It just works.
I know. It's like we were saying. I was going to bring up Tom Leith because we were talking. We're bringing. Scottish guy, Tom Leith, used to come on in a more proactive manner. What was I going to tell you about him? Oh, that's what I was going to tell you. So many students, they get stage fright on Monday or whatever. They just stop. So part of what we're going to have Tom do is we're going to try to do a better job of cultivating our tribe and actually feeding these guys. So, probably as soon as 2-3 months from now, when people buy our workshops, we have a whole new online course. I already put it together. I filmed it about 5 weeks ago. So it's been edited and all that kind of stuff. So they're going to get an updated new course, which is going to be great.
It's going to be really good.
Then they're going to get one, maybe 2 Zoom calls before the workshop.
Oh, yeah.
So then when these students come into the workshop, we're already going to expect them to be running Square One before they show up to the live workshop. So I think that's going to be good. The new online course we're going to get when you buy the workshop, and then the Zoom call. Because you show up on a Zoom call with 5, 10, 20 of your classmates, you don't want to be the only loser who didn't do the homework, right? You want to be able to answer the questions. So put a little bit of positive pressure on people. And then after the workshop, we'll do the same thing. We'll have 1 or 2. Yep.
A follow-up.
Yep,
that's
exactly.
Great.
And I think that's gonna take us from 1 in 5 or 1 in 4, whatever the number that people take a course who end up going crazy with it. We're gonna try to increase that. Can we get half of our students? Can we get 70% of these people to become great? So, I mean, we're never going to get 100 because I think back in school, it's like 20% are A students, 20% are B, 20% are C's, 20% are D's, 20% are F. With Square One, it's either A or F. There is no B, C, D students.
It could be funny because, it's on or off on the test. So it's
the
same thing.
You're either running it or
binary.
you're not. Like, you can't, Square One, as simple as it is, there are certain steps that this is inherent in the system. If you're not doing these steps, you're not running the system. So we're going to do whatever we can to well, I mean, I'll say 100%. We're never going to get 100%. I mean, people are going to sign up because their friends signed up, but we want to get a higher success rate where people are just continuing to practice it. Because I think, I mean, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think if most people were to practice Square One after their workshop for 10 minutes, 30 minutes a day for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, they will become proficient enough to work on just about anybody.
Yeah.
Like real quick, in weeks.
For sure.
Not months, I don't think.
I mean, I was very lucky. I was in a situation before where I could test like hundreds of athletes.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I was super lucky. But I mean, even then, even if I had 30 minutes a day, it's going to take you a month to be not great, but proficient enough to. It might take you might have to retest a couple times.
Right, you might be a little slow with it, but But how many times you guys work on somebody especially with younger athletes, where you clear out 2 things, 5 things, 10 things, and paint starts going away.
When we were.
And it doesn't usually go that way with 50-year-olds and 80-year-olds, but when you're fast, you clear out 30, 40, 50 layers. Okay, so it's 20 or 30 minutes that I start seeing pain reduce on most people.
When we were at Blaine, there's this one kid there that had 2 years of patellar tendinopathy.
Yep.
And we were telling dinner, 1 layer, 2 years of patellar tendinopathy gone, just gone.
Crazy.
And I thought he was messing with me. I was
totally.
I was like, no, dude, you're. And
that's it.
It goes into a full pistol squat. And it's like, yeah, it's nothing.
Yeah, that's crazy. All the time when we work with younger people, and you'd clear out 1 thing, 3 things, and it gets better. Don't tell me what I want to hear. Of course I want to hear you say that. Yeah. No, I'm feeling good. I'm like, really? Because I'm because we got to clear out 20 things at least, 50 things before this happens. This is crazy.
I think that's one thing too for people testing to get better at it. The way that Zach and I do it now, we can probably get hundreds of layers in 20 minutes.
That's crazy.
The way we do it now, but I think people should really, really practice it, because Square One, if obviously if you can't muscle test, you can't run the system.
Right.
But if you can muscle test, just get really, really freaking good at it, and then you can just bang through layers.
Because that's the only skillful part of it.
That's the only barrier.
That's a skill.
That's it.
But it's like riding a bicycle. That's what I tell people. Look, it's a skill.
You never forget it.
But it's not that hard. Guess what? When you rode your bicycle the first day, you probably skinned your knees up and cried, and Dad, I'll never get it, whatever. Okay, great. Get back on, kid, right? Your dad didn't let you stop after 2 minutes because you didn't pick it up immediately, right? But I think that's a lot of students, not all of them, obviously, because we have a lot of great people doing it. But I think a lot of people are so used to the standardized way of education, which is, I take the multiple choice deal, I answer it, and then I get my piece of paper. It says, I know this stuff. But with Square One, you actually have to be able to do something. You actually have to earn that skill. So I say it's like riding a bicycle. Look, it's going to be really frustrating the first day or 3, but if you stay on it, by the time you get to day 3, 4, 5, I think I'm going to get this. And then 2, 3 weeks in, I can clearly tell on, off, pass, fail. You just got to stick with it. I just think most people, when they see guys like you, or they see me muscle test, they assumed we came out of the womb and we're great muscle testers. You didn't see the master struggling and toiling when he sucked. You didn't just see Michael Jordan's first layup. No, they didn't film it, right? It probably looked like crap. It did, you know what I mean? There's no way he's throwing 360 dunk on his first attempt.
We were talking the other day about how the first people that we worked on with Square One.
I feel bad.
And I feel bad. It's I can't.
That was their experience.
Experience is us muscle testing.
See us now.
And we're trying to jam their arm down, or we're just going too slow and too soft. And it's I just can't get it. And we're spending 10 minutes trying to get a test on them because we can't do it. And it's frustrating and it sucks, but anything, everything sucks the first time you do it.
It does. And then, okay, so what's your degree in again? Remind me.
Exercise science.
And yours?
Same here.
Yeah, and mine too, right? So now think about it. We already talked about this before, and I've told you what the only skill I got in college. What was the only skill did you guys pick up any skills with your 4-year program?
FMS. FMS.
Right, FMS. Is that even a skill? I don't know.
I gained a lot of knowledge.
Right, a lot of knowledge. Totally.
Nothing.
I would say it was the degree that prepared you for everything and nothing, right?
Yes.
Because you can't do anything, but you have such a broad-based science. You can go to PT school, you go to chiropractic school. Mm-hmm. It's almost like a precursor to stay around and go to grad school, right? Because they don't really give you skills. Yeah. So now think about it. We get these students coming in. We got a lot of personal trainers. We got a lot of fitness people and performance people. So think about these people coming in the door. What are they used to doing? Writing programs. And then watching the program. Oh, your knee's diving in, whatever. So cueing. So all we do is most people come to us. A lot of times what they were doing before was writing programs. Now we're going to actually make them do something. They're not used to that. So I think that's what it is. It's such a it's such a paradigm shift from what they're used to. They're used to A, B, C, D, answering a multiple choice. If I get a 70%, I pass, or whatever the standard is. Like, no, that's fine, but you actually have to physically be able to do something. So I think back to my 4-year degree, I love my time at Penn State. Fond memories, still have good feelings towards Penn State and all that. But the truth is, the only skill they taught us was how to use skinfold calipers. Now think about that. Like, nobody wants that done. So you're a personal trainer, and your new lady client who, when you're 25, your first client's like double your age, she's 50, then she wants you to do a skinfold caliper test on her. Like, think about that. That's crazy. So I don't think there's a lot of vocational skills being taught in traditional education, like whether it's high school or college. And this is an opportunity for people to actually become skilled at something. Yeah. So if you went to Vo-Tech or something in high school, like maybe you became a mechanic or hairstylist, you actually learn skills. So I look at Square One, I think of us more as a burgeoning trade school. Like, you guys you're going to come in, we're going to teach you a skill that's super massively important. You can get a read on whether the nervous system just liked or didn't like an input. Like, that's massively important information. So I think it's just a little bit of a change in direction from what people are used to. And if people are like, wow, I just like taking the test, like, well, you're going to suck at Square One forever. Like, you're never going to get good if you don't get good at the muscle testing piece. So you got to practice.
I mean, we saw the other day, and in the I don't want to say anything bad, but in the Square One, what is it, what's the thing? It's like the Square One like group. When you sign for Square, you get access to the
there's like a little online, you can put messages.
Yeah,
the tribe.
And I saw Zach. I saw this question the other day, and it just made both of us look at each other and be like, really? Like, that's what the question is? And it's like there's still. I'm willing to bet the person that asked that question is still like a box thinker still.
Probably.
They're looking at it as in, okay, well, what's next? Like, okay, I did this, now what?
Yeah.
They're not sure what to do next. It's like, well, anything.
You know what question I hate? I don't get it very often. Is do we get a piece of paper to hang on the wall? Like,
they want to Square One.
It's crazy. I'm like, whoa.
Give me the letters.
Like, it's not like it's a fine enough question, but I'm like, I don't think you get what we're trying to deliver to you if that's your question. Like, what? Who cares?
Am I certified?
Like, how about
Am I certified?
How about the next?
I tell my clients I know this.
How about the next 10 people come into your studio that are in pain? You take them out of pain. Like, that's going to carry a lot more weight than whatever piece of paper you're going to hang on your wall. So it's just trying to get people to think differently. So I don't even think that's even like, I don't even know it's a bad question, but it just shows like, people like, I was a good boy. I got the piece of paper. Now I'm a licensed whatever. I'm a certified this or that. Like, who cares? Like, who'd you help yesterday? Who'd you help this past week?
What's your best story?
Yeah, what is your best story?
What's your best story?
Mine.
Shawn? What's your best story?
I think I got two.
Like, very, like, we're talking, like, because you always ask everyone.
Yeah.
Like,
you ask everybody, what's your best story?
Yeah.
That's the best question you can ask a PT, a strength coach, any of them.
Yeah.
So, Shawn, what's your best story?
I got two.
Let's hear them.
So the first one, this was back in 2009, so we're talking 16 years ago. Long story short, I was working with a high school basketball team in Illinois, and I was working with Valparaiso University, the men's basketball team. So, and we're getting like these ridiculous results. Like Valpo beat, I think they had 9 wins, but they beat Butler, who went to the national, like they went to the championship that year. They got second to Duke or somebody or whatever, right? So Valpo beat them. They really shouldn't have. But like, at midnight the night before that game, I worked on 4 of their players who ended up like dominating the next day. It was awesome, right? So anyway, so working with these basketball people. And then down at Purdue, Robbie Hummel at the time was like mega stud in the college basketball game. Like he was a sophomore, but he was preseason Big Ten Player of the Year. And he was hurt. And Robbie grew up in Valparaiso, so all the Valpo coaches knew him. He was like the water boy, like he was wiping the floor up and stuff when he was like when he was a young guy. So they thought he was gonna go to Valpo, but then he had to get like bigger and better, like, and everybody wanted him. So Valpo just wouldn't. They're competing against Duke and Purdue's of the world, right? So Robbie's down there, and I didn't know Rob, but Valpo knew Rob. And then this high school team was working for, that coach played college and pro ball against some of the Purdue coaches. So I had both these schools calling down to Purdue and say, look, you gotta let to let our guy Shawn work on Robbie.
Yeah.
And so based on their reputations, a couple weeks later, they came up to play up in Chicago against Northwestern. So I go and meet the team over at their hotel. So I work on Hummel and all their top 5, 6, 7 guys. And so Hummel, I just remember doing like a little functional assessment with him. He had back pain. So I had him like, bend sideways and, both ways and rotate. And so we were able to find, I think it was 13 different pain producing patterns, positions. So I work on them, half-hour session. And again, this is 09. Like I'm way slower then than I am now. So a half hour then is probably like 10 minutes today, right? So working on for 30 minutes. And all but one position, pain was gone. So we cleared up 12 of his 13 pain-producing positions. He still had pain going straight old extension. The next night he plays and hit the game-winning shot with 12 seconds ago or something. It wasn't a buzzer beater, but it was like hit the last shot, went ahead, they won, right? But what's crazy is the day I worked on him, they did X-rays prior, but that day they did, I think it was a longitudinal view, X-ray and I think MRI. I think both images. And the results didn't get back, by the time I worked on him, which it was a good thing because if the results had come back, they wouldn't let me touch him. Because it turns out he had an L5 vertebral fracture. So he had cracks in the body of his L5 vertebra. So the dude's playing with a broken back, right? So he's not
This game-winning shot on a broken back.
Oh, yeah, right? Yeah, so check it out. This is crazy. I didn't know this. I didn't know the next day. They didn't call me and tell me this, right? So what happened was, it was nuts. So at this point, he was playing in games, but he was barely, I don't think he was practicing. It was like they're just using him because he was still studying, still getting, he was underperforming, but he's still he's the 15th best guy in the Big Ten. Still a performer, right? So it was nuts. I didn't know any of this, right? I turned on the Big Ten Network. It was about 2 weeks roughly after I worked on him when they played Northwestern. I should go back in the history and look it up. I'd say it's 10 days, 14 days later, whatever. Turn on the Big Ten Network. They're playing at Ohio State, and Hummel is on the bench in street clothes. I'm like, what is going on? So that's when I go and Google it. Like, holy crap, he's playing with a broken back. That's when I learned, right? So then I sent a text to the associate coach, Paul Lusk. I said, hey, coach, I'm sure you heard how good the first session went. Rob played really well and whatever right after. I don't need to tell you, you saw that. But I see he's on the bench and I can't help but think he just needs a little bit more time with it. I need a little more time. I did a half hour on him. I did a partial session. And I said, look, no, I won't charge you guys. I'll come down and visit. I'm thinking I come down there and help this guy. There's no way they're not hiring me, right? So I said, I'll come down, no charge. The only caveat is I need coaches in a room because I need witnesses because I think it's going to go really well. And I'm not sure that your medical staff is super happy with me working on your guys. So no problem. So Coach Lusk was in the room. I took a buddy with me because otherwise this could be like these stories sure, nobody was there. But there was people in the room. So I go down there. Hummel has a plastic back brace on. We lay him on the table. He cannot lift his leg off the ground. It's stuck on the table. He has 2 degrees of hip flexion or so, right? So we sort of start running square one on him. I mean, within 3 minutes, 5 minutes, he's at 90 degrees active hip flexion. One of their medical people, I won't even give a title because I got no qualms with this guy. The guy who was basically overseeing his rehab stood up, goes over to Hummel and says, hey, Rob, if this guy hurts you, cut him off. And then he left the room. And then the coaches were apologizing to me it's okay. He's just, he thinks I'm making him look bad. He has 24/7 access.
Well,
and in 5 minutes.
Seen anything like
that. Yeah, totally. So just threatened. It's all right. That's no big deal, whatever. So I ended up working on him, ended up playing the rest of the year, played great. So he didn't get
the rest of the year?
Yeah, he played the rest of the year. He didn't get Big Ten Player of the Year because he missed so many games. But in the tournament, they won the Big Ten tournament. He was Tournament Player of the Year. Huh. And then he led him to the Sweet 16 for the first time. I think it was in 19 years, I believe, at that point. So he played great. And it was funny. It was in Athlon. I think it was Athlon, one of the preseason magazines the next year. Hummel was interviewed. He's on the cover or whatever. He's top 5 guy in college basketball or whatever. And he was actually using some of the crappy jokes I was making. So at one point I was in the locker room with Hummel and 4 other players. And I took his plastic back brace. I'm like, you know what this thing's good for? He's like, no, what? So it's great for a drop kick. And I threw it on the ground and I kicked it across the room. And the players are laughing. He actually made that joke. Yeah, the only thing that plastic back brace is good for is for drop kick. That wasn't even a good joke. And he's like, it was funny. But that was one of the better ones. And then another one, I'll try to be quick about it. This would have been, I think it was 3 years ago now. So I moved home to Pennsylvania about 5 years ago now, and I love to fish. I have a twin brother. He loves to fish. So my mom lives with my brother. They built a mother-in-law suite on his house, so she's over there. And I go to pick up my brother to go fishing, and he's like calling me over. And you know, when you have a twin, like he's like your best friend and your worst enemy, like this guy can't tell me what to do. He's like calling me over. I'm like, this guy's been trying to push me around my whole life. He probably thinks the same about me too. He's like kind of doing this number. I'm like, what? Like, 'cause he's about 50 yards away. And I'm like, what? He's like, come over. You know, he's like, come over. Like, what? Like, he kept doing it. Like, and then so you're like, go over there. I'm ready to strangle. I'm like, what? Like, let's go fishing. You know, what's he doing? He's like, I think mom had a stroke. It's like, oh crap. Okay. So then, you know, obviously then my demeanor changed. I'm not being in competition with my brother. And he's like, yeah, like, can you run some Square1? I'm like, oh, yeah. So she's sitting on the back porch, literally like kind of hunched over like this. She has, you can see like Bell's palsy, like paralysis on one side of her face, like her lip is drooping. She was kind of talking like this. I mean, just can't get out words very well. She looks like she's ready to go down for the count. I think we got to get her to the hospital. My mom is like anti-medicine. She's like, I don't want to go to the doctor. She don't want to go. So we couldn't talk her into going. Like, all right, let's run some Square1. And so I used that popliteus, that internal shin rotation test. And then the triggers I had her do was I had her repeat supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. So like I'd give her something like a tongue twister kind of thing. So she's like super blah, 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 blah. You know, okay, that's enough, mom. Don't finish it. Triggered her, cleared it. Okay, do it again. Then she's getting further and further into the word. And then it's like then it trails off. Triggered, cleared it. Then supercalifragilistic, blah, 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 blah. So she's getting further and further and further through the word. And then by the time we cleared it, I don't know, 15, 20. I mean, it wasn't like I was there for an hour. It was like in 10 minutes. So it was like we're like 15, 20 layers in deep. You literally see her face, boom, return. And her speech came back right before our very freaking eyes. So I always joke with you guys, video it didn't happen, right? But like, I'm not going to get the video camera. I'm more worried about my mom's life. You know what I mean? Like, so she spruces up and she's doing great. Like, okay, mom, listen, like, now's the time to go to a doc. Like, you have clots in there. They give you some medicines, like break that out. Like, this might not be over. Like, this could still be very life-threatening. And she didn't want to go. So I'm not going. Like, she's like, well, if this is how you want to die, it's your choice. I'll honor that. Like, we'll be sad, but like, whatever. I'm not going to force her to go. So we went fishing. I said, all right, mom, when I'm gone, I just want you to sing. I want you to, hey, we open up these pathways. I want you to use it. So, you know, so we went fishing, we're coming back, and I'm driving back, and I'm not sure if my brother gets the gravity of the situation or not. He did. I said, you know, when we get home, mom might be dead on the steps. I mean, like, this could be really serious. It's so funny. As we're coming up to the house and walking up there, I can hear her inside singing Beatles songs as I'm driving up there. She's fine. So we got her to go to the hospital. That was a Friday or Saturday. She went to the hospital like 2-3 days later. And no, you didn't have a stroke because you wouldn't be performing like this. She didn't even bother explaining what you did to me. Like they wouldn't understand it, and you wouldn't be able to explain it to them. So so she had a stroke. So we actually kind of mid-stroke reversed it. That was pretty sick. Damn, and because of my mom, it makes it extra awesome and special too. But it was awesome. It was really fun. Those are probably my two top.
Yeah.
What do you guys have? You guys have some crazy ones.
Yeah. Jared, what's your best story?
And Jared, you learned 13 months ago.
March of last year, yeah.
Yeah, it's April now. Yeah, so about 13 months ago. And you got a ton of them. I mean, your own freaking broken arm. You know, yourself with your broken arm.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's a good one. But I mean, pick any of them.
Oh, I'll take Rita's.
Take Rita, yeah.
So
man.
One of the guys who's taken the course this weekend, Jake Sudrith. So we and this is actually what got him to take the course. So his mom has had like serious back pain to the point where they had surgery scheduled for surgery.
Yeah, and like people had to take her out of bed.
So
what kind of surgery was she gonna have done?
Some sort of back, probably like some spinal decompression surgery.
Okay.
And that morning, her husband had to pick her up out of bed, like put her clothes on, all of that.
And she was that way for weeks or months or how long?
A year or so.
Wow. 2 years.
And
maybe.
she was like it was, sounded like it was causing some issues. I mean, like and so Jake reached out like, we'll work on her. And so we work on her, and we do a couple layers. We make some pretty good improvements, and then we work on her. Again, our indicators were, she couldn't even we told her to touch her toes. It looked like she just put her hands down, didn't even move her spine. Like it was that
like touch her thighs.
Not to the knees. It was probably to the waist.
Yeah.
It's like if I told you to put your elbow by your side, nothing.
Yeah. No
squat wasn't that much better either. And then we had.
It was like 10 minutes into it or something.
Yes. Well, that was her indicator. 10 minutes in, it's like a little better. It was pretty good. And then, we were like, all right, we work for probably another like 30 minutes. Then we're like, all right, we're gonna recheck. Dude, her hands go down to her toes. And then we have her squat, perfect squat. And then she's like, yeah,
what does she do? What's her reaction? Like,
she was, we've had this something
like dumbfounded or just not
a little bit,
it?
just a little bit of both. A little bit like,
a little bit zoned out.
A little bit zoned out. Like just like,
you know, like,
yeah,
like being able to touch your toes.
And then it gets even better though. So then later that day, and you say this a lot sometimes, Square1, once you set it, it gets better as it goes.
Yeah.
We get a text from, we posted on Twitter.
And how long you worked on it? Like half hour?
It's probably like half hour, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And then we posted on Twitter or X, and we get a comment from her husband, and he says, actually I'll read it out.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's so cool, dude.
I'll read this.
It's so awesome.
Let me go find this. I'll read this actually.
It's already amazing.
It's actually funny. Like, what he did,
It's really funny.
I laughed at it. I was like, oh, man. Yes, I had surgery scheduled, and in 2 weeks after we worked on her, surgery scheduled for 2 weeks. She cancels the surgery.
Yeah, here we go.
She's like, I don't need it anymore.
So he said,
this is later that same day?
This is later. This is at 5 o'clock this is at 5 p.m. We worked on her probably the morning. It's like 10:30. And he says, most amazing thing I've ever seen. We have done every pain management thing you can imagine. Nerve ablations, Vicodin, shots, PT. She cannot lift her foot more than 6 inches off the ground. Needed help getting up. This is the best part. 20 minutes ago, she was doing high knee drills to show her mobility.
Placebo.
Total placebo.
None of the other people had the benefit of placebo, but you did.
100% placebo, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So that's a really good one.
That's awesome, man.
And the other one we had was Chase Van Dyke, so he was the pitching coach at Blinn. His is crazy. So he was in a car accident in 2020. He almost died. He has 3rd-degree burn on his legs. They do skin grafts on his legs. He has 2 or 3 fused vertebrae. Well, fused, unfused, fused. And then he has a metal rod in his femur. And that morning when we got there, he, I guess, had pulled his back. He always walked like really messed up because dude, fused vertebrae and a metal rod, you're not going to walk right. And he walked in and he said he pulled his back and he walked. And we're thinking, I've seen him walk around before. I know he walks like, not that great. And dude, he comes in and he like no arm swing and his gait at all. His arms are by his side. He can barely move. And we're like, all right, well, we're just going to get to, I don't think we even bothered trying to, explain anything to him. We're like,
let's just go.
And so
he tried to bend over and he crumpled in pain.
And
here's the thing. He
left his
And it wasn't
body.
even like he got that far. He literally got me, like if he goes torso right, he was probably like right there.
Like not even bent over to brush his teeth kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like,
fell on the table.
It was bad. And then so we actually did the session on his stomach.
And he's how old? He's like in his 20s.
Yeah, he's in his 20s.
Jeez.
And so we did the session on his stomach because he couldn't really lay on his back.
Oh, man.
And so we work on him and we're like checking in as we go, have him stand up and over. And then we probably worked on him for an hour and a half, and we probably cleared, honestly, like over 1,000 layers. Like we put in some work. It was probably
we were both
working at the same time.
Yeah.
So we probably got like 1,000 or so layers.
That's so insane.
And then we're like, all right, bend over, and he just goes, and just all the way to his toes. Not only touches his toes, then goes into the bottom part of a squat after touching his toes.
He's in the touch his toes and just sits down.
He sits down, and then he gets up, and he's just like, what did you guys do to me? And then later on in the day, he's now hanging out in a deep squat. And then the craziest part is with fused vertebrae, he goes into lumbar extension with fused vertebrae. We have a picture on our Twitter on X of him going. And what's crazy too, and not uncommon, is he goes home and he's like, dude, that's the best sleep I've gotten since the accident.
Oh yeah.
Since the accident.
That's amazing.
And one of the other coaches there, former professional catcher, the trigger that we used, we put him in a squat with his hand out like this.
Totally.
And we cleared 20 layers of that. He tweets at us, best night of sleep I've ever had.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Those are some really good. We're actually currently working with this woman back in Charleston who she had wrist surgery 11 weeks ago.
Allison, yeah.
She had
12 weeks.
12 weeks,
yeah.
and she basically fell.
You saw her this week for the first time?
No, we've seen her twice already. The first time, she basically fell. She has a metal plate and screws in her wrist, and we were working on her. And when we started, it was probably so her right was here and her left was probably like this, like that. That was her extension.
Okay.
Like that. And then we worked on her. By the end of the session, she got to here. She was basically the same. But I think the most incredible part for us was I took a picture because I was willing. I'm happy I took a picture of it. But the scar before we worked on it was just like dull and discolored. It was like purple and gray and just
the scar from the
surgery.
Yeah.
And it just looked terrible. When we finished working on her, it looked like normal skin.
What?
And the scar was red.
Do you have pictures of that? Or
Yes, it's on our Twitter. It's on our X.
Her palms looked rosy and red, but before they looked green and yellow.
And how long ago was her surgery, like you said?
13, 14 weeks probably.
Ago. Oh, yeah, all right.
Yeah,
That's
so we
crazy.
restored lymphatic function and blood flow through that.
More than likely.
So it was...
It's amazing.
Yeah, some of our...
I love hearing stories from our
the best part is like ask a PT their best story. They're going to struggle to think of one. For us, it's like, which one do you want?
Yeah,
do you want the one last week? Or
the best one yesterday or last week, last month, or all time? What do you want?
Yeah.
That's crazy. What are you, Zach? What do you got?
Well,
you learned Square1 about 11
months ago, yeah. So, I mean, the stuff that I've seen ever since moving to Charleston with Jared, good. First of all, at Blinn, we got like 37 out of 38. Yeah. That was crazy. I mean, that was a great weekend.
Blinn College in Texas, a bunch of baseball guys.
Yeah, and then another time we went down to the streets of Charleston. We rode out a whiteboard, got paid.
You guys are texting me the whole time.
Yeah, and we were offering people like $50 if we couldn't help them with any pain. So
you were offering them $50 if you couldn't take them out of
$50 if we couldn't get them out of pain. And we didn't pay anybody that day. It was probably 21 people that we saw, and every single person.
I didn't know you were offering them money if you couldn't.
Oh yeah, right, yeah.
That's
and they either got anywhere from like a little bit better to like completely like I don't feel any
and like,
right now that I usually do. And there was one guy, he had like he had a brace because something happened with his leg. Wait, he had pneumonia.
You know, he went to the hospital for something and then caught pneumonia there, and then developed some type of weird type of some type of palsy, and his foot is stuck in pronation.
He's inverted. No,
he's inverted.
Yeah,
he was inverted.
Terribly
he was stuck in the outside of the foot
permanently.
Yeah. And this is going on for years or months.
Ever since he was like 3 or 4.
Oh, and this guy's like 20s, 30s, 40s.
60s.
Oh.
Yeah. So he had a brace on and everything, and so he's like, it hurts when I walk. So all we did was we cleared the brace, we cleared walking, and he went and he walked, and he's like, this is the first time it hasn't hurt.
Hold on. Not only did he walk, he jumped.
Yeah,
he jumped.
And his family was there too. Like his kids,
what are you guys?
were like looking at us like they were filming us. They're like, what? Like, what are you guys doing?
That's amazing. Okay, so did he get your number?
I gave my number to, I think it was
his
his
son. Has he come in for a second session?
No, they're not from the area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But still, that's the question. Like, why do you think some students don't get good at it? Like, it's just human nature. Like you would think that guy, I'm going to be on your schedule twice a week for indefinite, you know? Well, I mean, that's what I would do if someone did that for me. I'd be like, I want this party to keep going. Yeah, that's so crazy.
And there was like a director of a hospital that had terrible back pain, like UNLV director of the hospital, and he had back pain. I worked on him for like 15 minutes. He's like, man, my back, this is the best my back's felt in so long.
That's awesome.
And I'm like expecting him to call Jared and I. Yeah. I text him several times. He never gets back to me. I'm like, come on, man.
This dude worked at a hospital. He had access to everything.
Crazy.
It's like
everything.
Crazy.
And
nature, man.
And it's honestly since Zach's moved down here and we've been, like tag team and Square1 sessions. I mean, dude, like it's like once a week where we have like this other kid, Connor Mark. This was man. So this dude, So he was he was a baseball guy, and he was like, he said he was 86 to 87, and he was just complaining about his elbow hurting.
High school, college?
College kid, freshman, I think. And he was saying his elbow's hurting. It was hurting ever since the fall. And so we're like, okay, we'll work on him. And he's a hyper responder. It was like a couple layers, and he was like no pain or anything. And his pronation got fixed, like supination, pronation, everything got fixed. And then we're like, hey, when's your next game? He goes, it's like we have a game this week, but they're going to be another week, and then I'm going to pitch. It's like, okay, so just let us know how it goes. And he's texting us back and forth, like, hey, I felt through today, felt really good, no pain, this is awesome. he goes to pitch. He sits 90 to 93. So his average velocity is up 4 to 6. It gets crazier. 4 to 7 miles an hour. He also tells us, like, yeah, I was doing it. He goes, but I felt my elbow pop, and he goes, we're like, oh, like that's like this is shit, like, you know.
Yeah, that's not good.
And then he goes, oh, don't worry, I tore it in the fall. So the dude tore his elbow, then PR'd after a Square1 session.
Yeah,
with a torn ligament.
His mobility, he was stuck in like this with his wrist, and after 30 minutes, just all the way there, and his shoulder too, like full IR, and
so awesome.
Yeah, it was insane.
As you guys are telling stories, it makes me think of other stories too.
I mean, dude, we could probably stay for hours.
Oh, I know. I mean, multiple days. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, but
I thought of another real quick one. Was working with the University of Minnesota with the football team. This is 10 years ago now. They're a really good team. They had Max Williams, the tight end. He was like whatever it's not the Blitnikoff, that's a receiver. But he won whatever tight end of the year for the whole nation. The running back was David Cobb, and he had I think he set the school record for yards, carries, and touchdowns, I think. So they're a really good team. Cobb tears his hamstring on the road against Nebraska. They end up in the third quarter, end up winning that game. Like, oh my gosh, like because we won that game, now we play Wisconsin next week. If we beat them, we get a chance to go and get our heads kicked in by Ohio State. Because like Ohio State was like really, they were just really good. It was like huge. This is like they're like
they need to lose to Ohio State.
Yeah. So Cobb tore his hammy, and so they reached out to me, the strength guys, and they, can you help him? I said, look, here's the deal. Like, it's either going to be a grand slam or a total whiff. So we're going to get nowhere, or it's going to be like awesome. And I'm like, it's like, what do you think the chances are? I'm like, I think 70% chance we're gonna get them. Like, all right, so they flew me up, and I worked on a bunch of players, but it was like the focus was Cobb. So every time between classes, I'd work on Cobb. So I think I worked on him 3 times, anywhere from 10 minutes to maybe the first one was like a half hour. So we probably got about an hour of Square1 over 3 sessions. And it was on a Wednesday, and they're playing Saturday. And like, what do you think? I'm like, well, you guys want to use them Saturday? Yeah, we'd like to. I'm like, we got to sprint them. I mean, you just got to find out. Like, you either can go or you can't. So they hand timed them. So they didn't get all the equipment out, but they're hand timing them. And they're warming them up, doing their thing. And I go, all right, David, just give us 75% effort. So they're hand timing. I'm like, David, like, how much effort you put in that? Like, 75. Like, okay, do it again. And they're not telling the times. And I'm like 50 yards away. I'm just trying to stay out of it, so it's not like my influence or whatever. So they're doing it. So they said they ran him at 75% effort. He was clocking the second fastest time he'd ever run since he's been at the school, right? This is crazy. Like, no pain, like torn hamstring, right? Plays at Wisconsin that Saturday. Like, look, no charge. I want to come up. I'll meet you guys at the hotel. We'll work on David, a couple other guys, tune you guys up before the game, And like, it was great. Like, he was like just basic ADL type stuff isn't triggering him. Like, he was like ready to roll. So I think it was in the first quarter, definitely in the first half, because we have like really nice seats in the end zone, me and my buddy. And I think it was a 52-yard breakaway touchdown where I think he broke 3 tackles and juked 2 guys on a torn hamstring into the end zone with torn hammy. It was like awesome. So that was a fun one. We got like lots of.
It sounds like you're going to end this on. That's a crazy story.
Yeah, it was fun. It's cool.
Sweet. Well, hey, thanks for doing this. This is
thank you so much.
Dude, this is awesome, man. I'm like honored you guys had me as your first guest, and
this is
awesome talking with you guys. And you guys have been so valuable to the community. It's only been around for a year, but you guys have done such big work and very open about it and sharing it all over Instagram and all over the different social media. So I thank you guys for having me here and being here to help teach this week. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, of course, it's gonna be a great week.
It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
Of course.
Yeah.
All right, so we're finished recording with. I'm just take us off. Just finished recording with Shawn, and David had texted me during the podcast that some of his knee pain came back after, and that sparked a conversation and telling the Chase story. So Hyde was there,
and Hyde he's the camera guy too.
Yeah, so he's the guy filming. So he was there while he saw everything we did. You just want to go ahead with Chase? Like, he was there, and so he witnessed it firsthand.
Yeah, so I've known Chase for 3 years. He's my pitching. I played baseball. He was my pitching coach through high school, and he was going to be my pitching coach at 2 of the colleges I was committed to. So I've known him for a little bit, worked with him a lot. I've seen him move around. Always super gingerly. I remember when I first started working with him, I think it was the first bullpen I threw with him. His dad had come as well, and we were just kind of doing my thing, throwing my bullpen, whatever. And Chase like kind of like held his back, and he was like, "Oh, I need to go sit down. Like this hurt. I have to go sit down." And it had been like that for those 3 years. And then obviously, as Jared said earlier, pulled his back the night before they worked on him. And then they ran the Square1 on him, and I'd never seen it before. It was the first time I had ever seen it. So, I mean, it's not like, it's like, this is a biased opinion. This is real. First time I ever see it, and I'm like, these guys are crazy. Like, these guys look like crazy people that are in here just doing God knows what. And then all of a sudden I see a guy that I've known for 3 years and I've never seen touch his toes or get into the bottom of a squat. And I'm like, what did these guys just do? Like, it's crazy to me. Yeah. It's crazy to me.
Welcome to your new normal, as Ryan Thompson says.
That's the Square1 motto. Welcome to your new normal.
Oh yeah, welcome to the new normal.
Yeah, that's the motto.
That glass ceiling just got a little higher. Yeah.
Exactly.
I just love hearing these stories. Like I don't know Chase yet. I guess he's signed up for one of the workshops coming up. But like I don't know. It's just really cool like to see and hear like what's that trajectory look like in his life now.
Oh, I mean, like
he's in his 20s. I think
it's crazy. I mean, he turned 25 not too long ago, so he's still super young guy.
Yeah,
and I mean,
he's living life like an 80-year-old.
Me and him talk all the time. We're super close. I mean, I don't play baseball anymore, but we're still super close as friends. And we talk about business stuff or whatever. But we're super close as friends. And I bring it up to him every once in a while about the Square1. I was like, "Hey, do you still feel good from this?" And he goes, "I still sleep like a baby every night."
2 months ago.
That was
January.
Zach,
that was January because it was right.
Yeah.
Because it was right after opening weekend of JUCO baseball because Lane had the shoulder thing.
And now it's what's today, April 4th or so.
Yeah.
So it's like 8-9 weeks later.
4th, yeah.
8 or 9 weeks later. He's doing great.
He's still doing great.
Yeah, I wonder how your PT sessions are doing that, huh?
And he's been worked on once.
No, so we worked on once. Uh-huh. Well, so we worked on him. We did the hour and a half, and then we've done a couple 20-minute sessions, just some quick tune-ups, once a month since then. Just about 3 sessions, and it's just
a total of hour and a half on a first. So
he threw. He was throwing. He was throwing a baseball.
We could pull up the Twitter video and
I'll pull up just so I can show you.
He's smiling. He's so happy to be throwing a baseball around, so awesome. And it just looks natural.
Look at this.
It looks like he never stopped throwing before.
That's so awesome.
It's crazy.
Look at that smile on his face. Does that look like a guy with a spinal fusion and a metal rod in his femur? Look at him, he's cheesing.
Because whenever I knew him before Square1, he would try to me and him would when I go throw a bullpen, we would play catch.
Yeah.
I mean, he was able to throw a little bit, but you could tell there was restriction, there was limitation, there was range of motion that people thought he would never get back into.
That's so cool.
And then that video was probably about 8 weeks after they worked on him, and he's moving around like he did when he was a 93, 95 mile an hour lefty at Mizzou.
Awesome. That's so good.
So I mean, it's crazy.
What's awesome hearing your perspective, these people tell a story. I believe them. Yeah. But if someone's watching, well, of course,
it's a good perspective to hear from an outsider,
right? That
hasn't gotten the certification, hasn't been to a workshop, only been somebody that's just seen it happen.
Yeah, awesome.
I mean, I kind of know it, but I don't know. I don't know how it works.
Yeah.
I don't know how it works. I don't know why it works.
But it works.
Yeah. I don't know how it works. I don't know why it works. I don't know how to do it. And I was an outsider seeing it for the first time on a guy that I've known for a good amount of time. And then like the motto is, welcome to your new normal.
Yeah.
And it's a completely different person.
Sick.
Super
awesome.
Thanks, Sick.